Welcome everybody to the Dave Knows Comics live stream. I'm your host, David Lee. Hang tight 1 second. Hopefully everything is working. Excuse me. 1 second. Got a little overeager to get on the show today. Sorry about that. Just had to make one minor adjustment. Hope everybody is doing well. How's it going, guys? Sorry, I accidentally changed camera angle. Sorry. Okay, so got a little overeager. Hope everybody can hear me just fine. And yeah, let's check out the sound. Hey, peace to you as well, Mohammed. Sorry about adjusting real second. I got a little overzealous. Clicking. Hope everyone can hear me okay. Oh, Mohammed's up. Whoa, sorry. So, how's it going? Yeah, just want to do a special show today. Just checking something out. Hope this doesn't throw things off in the middle of the live stream. Okay. All right, good. Everything's still going well with everyone? Did you hear about DC being in danger of being shut down? I did not. Please, let's talk about that. Hey, what's going on, Nathan Norman? What's up? Hey, what's up to you? Hey, True Sinister. Being in danger of being shut. I didn't. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this. Because I can't imagine they'd be in danger of being shut down, but I would like to know more. Okay. But yeah. So the reason I'm on today is hey, what's up? How is your day going? So far, so good. How was yours? Was on Stephen James' show. Stephen James will be joining me on the wrestling show. So uh, make sure you go over to the wrestling channel later on because we will be streaming later on. Hey, hello, Ryan Armstrong. Glad that everyone's filing in. So yeah, I've been having a very busy week and didn't have a lot of time to do normal things. So I really wanted to talk about the Legion review, the Legion finale. So I decided instead of making a video, which would take me forever, I didn't have the time for it. I thought I'd just come on live on the Comic Book Channel today, get you guys involved in the conversation. Let's talk about this. But also, I wanted to just get my thoughts on it, especially because there are three major points that I would like to talk about. So, for anybody who's not aware, this is going to be a pretty spoiler-heavy series review because I'm going to be talking about the entire series, not just Legion. But there's many interesting, thought-provoking points that I was wondering. So, for those of you who are fans of the show, please definitely partake in the conversation because I definitely want to know your thoughts. AT&T, who have bought Warner Brothers, wants DC as a lifestyle brand, and it may shut them down if they don't start turning a profit. Whoa. Maybe someone will buy them. Maybe Disney? Please, hello, Dave. Is Legion Charles Xavier's son? P.S. Hey, how you doing? How have you been keeping? I've been keeping good, and yes, he is. I have not seen the finale yet. Oh man! All right. Well, I'll give letting the spoiler warnings out. So be aware. So do what you got to do. If you need to bow out, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you for the thumbs up, by the way. But welcome. Vinny Montana, thoughts on Mark Hamill coming to the Crisis on Infinite Earths Arrow crossover? Hey, dude, I want as many people joining that crossover as possible. As many people can come in. I would love it if Christian Bale showed up. I don't think he will, but I would love every single bit of it. What's up, Double A? Okay, so yeah, giving everybody fair chance to get in here, but also giving everybody fair chance to leave, so they know that. Oh well, hello and peace to you. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for being in there. Have yourself a good rest. Yeah, so giving everybody a chance to follow in, but also subsequently giving everybody a chance to leave. Thank you for the thumbs up. We're up to two. Giving everyone a chance to leave because we're going to be spoiling Legion. Because if you haven't been watching Legion, and I understand that not everybody has, but I think you're missing out. I'm not the kind of guy who typically likes just the trippy for trippy's sake kind of show, the weird for weird sake kind of show. But this is a show that I truly enjoyed. It was, I typically steer away from the terms when people say that this was delightfully quirky or delightfully weird, because that doesn't do enough for me. Well, that's okay, Double A. If you don't watch it, hey Dave, what is your favorite comic book and why? Like title, character, narrow that down. A story arc, narrow that down a bit. Do you have a problem with the same actor playing different characters in the same universe? Yes, that I do. I still want them to fix the DCEU. I would like them to overhaul it, but I really like Flash Shazam a lot. But they don't want to. They just want to cash it in. I'll stay for a bit, but once the spoilers in, I'm out. Well, understood. Are you ready for Batwoman on CW? Yeah, I'm ready. Or that word you hate or dislike? Yes. It's okay. The word overrated, it doesn't cause me to cringe. Like, I don't hate it in like the hearing it auditory sense, but I just think it's a weak argument because what does it mean? Saying, well, I think other people like it too much. Okay, and what does that mean? Like, it's not a valid argument. I don't like something because other people like it. That's what you're saying, and that doesn't make any sense. Your opinions are being based off of other people's opinions. This gives you no contextual reason of why this is a bad product. You could say that this thing I don't like. Why? Because it's overrated. All right, that means nothing. That's a weak argument. You just think something is faulty because other people enjoy it. Well, that's silly. If you say, well, I don't like it, and I think it gets more credit than it's due because there is something else better, and this is better because of this. Okay, now that's a valid argument. But if you're just trying to say overrated, that means nothing. Hey, Dave, is Batman Dark Knight Rises a good movie? I like it. I actually like the third installment. But DC is dead and we don't even know it. Look how much Wonder Woman. Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely going through some hard times. I like some foods. I should hope so. Did you hear Ewan McGregor reprise it? Yes, one of the good parts of the prequels. Yes, he's definitely good, and time has kind of got him along, so he's further along in the process of aging. So it's closer to being Obi-Wan at this point. Michael Keaton as DKR Batman. What? What about that? Definitely happened. All right, Nathan Norman, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed yourself for a brief time, but I'm glad you came in. Talk about the Batman Who Laughs. The series was scary. It was scary. Yeah, real. Okay. Definitely wanted to focus on the Legion era. What up, Kendall Taylor, aka Taylor Made, Dark Knight Returns Batman movie? No, I know. Well, what about he wasn't Batman in it, but I'm not sure I understand the statement. Did you watch Inhumans? No, I know better. Dave, did you hear that Batman 2021 film will be based on a long Halloween comic? I did not, but was it Dark Knight based off of that too? More based on it? Okay, I still really wish we had the Arkham Asylum movie. I think that's a great story and a great way to make things more in the modern era. Okay, so thank you for being here. Let's get ahead with the Legion review. So if you haven't been watching Legion, you're definitely missing out because what I like about it is 3 seasons, very condensed, tells a fluid story, beginning, middle, and end. From my understanding it, though, I was told that they could have gone on more, but when they were told that this would be the last season, they just wrapped it up, and they knew exactly how to wrap it up. But I was told it was one of those things that they might have been able to change it up a little bit if they had to, but here, just 3 seasons is good. Because what I like about Keaton as Dark Knight Returns Batman in Crisis. Oh, I get it now. Okay. Yeah, that would have been Dark Knight Returns Batman. Okay, yeah, that's a possibility. I get flack for this, but I'm not the biggest Keaton Batman guy. Like, he's just too small for me to be it. But, if you like it, yeah. All right, well, take it easy, Muhammad. Thank you again for stopping by, and glad that I finally clarified. I understand what you mean now, and I was able to clarify it. Dave, check out Pennyworth yet? No, I didn't know it was even out yet. Wow, behind the times I am. Okay, so if you've been missing out on Legion, now Legion is a really interesting story. So here's the other interesting part about it. For me, I'm not the biggest fan of Legion in the comic books. I thought he was like a nice try, but he was like a very, very out there character. But the show I absolutely adored. They've taken so many parts of the X-Men that haven't been approached enough yet, I think, taken other areas of the X-Men and really combined it in a world that I think works. One of the first points I want to bring up is just talking about the show in general. Because when we look at Legion and we look at the X-Men movies, there's a bit of a disconnect, a bit of a freedom that Legion has been able to do that X-Men haven't really. Yeah, there's some crossover, but as a whole, when we watch the X-Men movies or we think about the X-Men, we really identify or we really like seeing the the minority allegory of it. That's really what they're portrayed at. Between the World War II Holocaust scene that they started the original X-Men film with, between the the treatment of the police and the X and Wolverine and X2, there's a lot and a lot of symbolism, a lot of allegory between real world minority issues and what the mutants are going through. And that's more grounded because it's a real problem that we in real life have. So when you take that, it doesn't always lend itself to things like aliens per se or time travel. Now I know the X-Men movies have recently done aliens and they have also done time travel and they've done the time travel thing well, but it doesn't always translate. You can't run with it. But if you remember X-Men cartoons with the Brood, the Shi'ar Empire, the bird alien people, Days of Futures Past, which again they did it well in the movie. I like that movie a lot. And you look at all the things that they've had in the X-Men comic books. X-Men is more than just mutants. X-Men is more than just having this allegory for racism and prejudice and whatever kind of prejudice there is. It's a lot more than that. There's tons and tons of things that they can't really or don't really translate in the world they set up in the movies. And like with the Dark Phoenix, the aliens, they tried it and it really doesn't help. I mean, that's not the sole reason why that movie doesn't work, but it's a part of it. No, Legion the series, not Legion of Doom. Any nuance? Any nuisance or the Brood Warbird? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. The guy who played B. Sorry, I'm catching it once in a while. I'm just trying to get these thoughts out. Brandon Ruff is coming back. Roth. So you have all these different kinds of elements of fiction that normally don't get brought up into the main X-Men films, but with properties like Deadpool per se, you get the chance to at least break out and do something a little funnier, try some little difference, or take smaller characters and use them in different ways. But when we go to Legion was able to do it fantastically. Legion has incorporated all kinds of weird things, really great weird things that I like about the show. Things that don't even make sense, but they can do anything they want, and you don't even question it at this point. They could stop for a musical number or a rap battle, and it works in the context of the show. You can have a guy who wears a gigantic bee basket or something like that on his head, and you don't necessarily question it. Again, it works. Hey, Cody Voices, it works for the show. And so that's just one thing I want to say, that this is a good opportunity for them to bring out a lot of X-Men stuff that we don't always get to see. Like, we got to see a real OG-looking Cerebro helmet. Like, yeah, the X-Men movies did a pretty good job with the Cerebro helmet, but this one was like a real kind of like campy kind of Cerebro helmet, if you like that kind of thing. I also love the timeless feel of it because, well, they mentioned things like email. It clearly takes place in modern times, but the first season looked like it took place in the 70s or the 60s even, and then now the flashbacks with Xavier almost look like they take place in the in the 40s or the 50s. It's just a weird show, like house shows. Yeah, there's that. So that is something I really enjoy about it. Is has this odd feel to it and this timeless feel to it, and now that it's finally over, it's like I'm going to miss this because I don't know that when the X-Men go into the MCU, will they have this? Now, granted, the X-Men in the MCU are going to have some avenues allowed to them, like they're already aliens established. So having aliens introduced in the X-Men world isn't going to be that weird because there's already a bunch of aliens between Thor and everybody, in the Guardians of the Galaxy. We already have that established. So that's one luxury that the X-Men have in the MCU. But I'm still a little worried, or not even worried, but I'm just hopeful that the kind of elements from the X-Men comic books that haven't been addressed in the movies prior will be able to be introduced in the MCU. And I have to thank Legion because I think Legion showed how to do it, or that it is possible to incorporate a lot of really, really strange elements that are typically thought of as too comic booky and put them into a live-action TV show, or at least shown into live action. So that's one thing I'm thankful for, and I'm glad that it happens. I feel Kamala Khan unfairly gets a bad rep from the Comics Gate crowd. How so? X-Man. X-Man is a weird guy. Or Chamber. Chamber's another weird character. I always kind of suspected we were going to see Chamber show up. X-person. Okay, so that's one major thing that I really applaud the show for. And now that it's gone, kind of sad to see. All right, so now we're going to get into a little more spoiler warnings about it. Because speaking of the main Marvel X-Men continuity and all that, so last chance, get out of town if you're wanting to avoid spoilers. Now is your last chance. Because the big thing I want to talk about is the actual ending of the show. And if you haven't seen it, again, spoiler warning, now's your time. letting you know spoilers for Legion happening right now. It's on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I have it on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. I'm not sure. I just watched it on TV. Old TV. Dave Long. Are you just naming random things? So Legion is worth watching. I most certainly think it is. Okay, so last chance. Spoiler room brawl, as Russell Talk would say, in 3, 2, 1. Spoiler warning. Spoilers for the end of Legion. So, it ends with them erasing all of time. Everything that you watched for the 3 seasons of the show was eradicated. David Haller, Legion, which he actually said, "I am Legion," which I like because I kind of mark out whenever they say the name of a movie or a TV show in the movie or TV show. I don't know why, I just like it. So he says he has Legion. His plan was, after everything that happened in season 2 and even some of the elements of season 3, his plan was to look at time. He got a time traveler in the very beginning of the 3rd season, and his plan was to go back in time and to stop Farouk, the Shadow King, an awesome character which I always wanted to see represented in X-Men. And I knew he didn't fit in the world, but I'm glad that Legion brought him up as the big bad of the series. So he's the big bad they've been building on since season 1. And he realized that he's been possessed by the Shadow King since day 1 of his life as a baby. So his plan was to get a time traveler, go back in time, and stop that from ever happening by killing Amal Farouk, or the Shadow King, before he ever takes possession of him. Because the story of the show is that Charles Xavier and the Shadow King fought. He thought and Charles won, believing he stopped the Shadow King, but meanwhile the Shadow King's consciousness went inside of David as a baby and made David think that he was crazy, made him feel that he had mental illness, and also was responsible for a lot of bad things happening, and a lot of bad things happened as a result of it. So that was a pitch. But the finale of the series shows that they go back in time. David and his Professor X, even though that's his father, they were never close in the series. They never grew. He was given away for adoption. He didn't know his dad. And then as he discovers it, he goes back in time, and the two of them were working together. And the goal is to stop Farouk from taking over David by any means necessary, as in killing him for good. That's the idea. But then the Shadow King from the future comes back. So it looks like it's going to be 2 Shadow Kings, past and present, versus present Legion and past Charles Xavier in a fight. And that's when things got weird, because eventually what happens is Farouk, the Shadow King, goes to his former self and shows him everything that he experienced while he was living inside of David's head. And it was an entire life. And this entire 3rd season was very much about the idea of reliving an entire life. And now that's an old Star Trek Next Generation episode for those of you who remember. Captain Picard did that. Time travel is so cool. Yeah. River Song, long spoiler. I am Iron Man. Hey, Harry Flynn. So what happened was, the Dr. Hugh comment made me laugh. So what happened was the two of them, several characters in the 3rd season, several characters go through reliving another life. Sydney, the character Sydney, David's love interest, who they broke up and very badly, and things didn't go well at the end of season 2. David takes away her consciousness, seemingly, but she actually winds up regrowing a second life, living a second life, going back to her adulthood until she re-enters her body. And then she goes back in time and decides that David, as a baby, still has a chance. So while the Legion that she knows is bad and she can't be with them, she realizes that as an infant, he still has a shot at this point in time. Because this isn't like that Endgame crap where he can't change events. You totally can in the Legion. So they go back in time, and she wants to fight for young David as a baby because she believes he still has a chance. And he didn't do anything wrong. This baby didn't do anything wrong. While the adult version of him did, this baby's future is not set in stone. So it was about, and she understood this because she lived the second life, and she only did so because David nearly eradicated her consciousness. So because of that, she wants to give that baby a chance. And so she fights to save that baby. And then the third was when Farouk allowed his past self to see everything that it was like living inside of another human being, growing up, feeling David's pain and struggles as he grew up, and what life is like as another person. Because you can never really empathize and in that way of living like someone else. And with that, past Farouk, who was originally going to fight Charles, realizes that he can't. And they just walk away. And it was like building up to this war, but they gave you like the Matrix ending, where it's not really spoilers for the Matrix. It's not about the war; it's actually about avoiding the war. And then David achieves his goal of changing the past and stopping Farouk from invading his mind, but not in the way he thought. It ends peacefully, diplomatically, and then the show ends with David and Sydney just disappearing because those versions of themselves don't exist anymore. They had enough time to say their goodbyes, and then the series just ends. So everything that we've seen for the past 3 years never happened at this point. Now, a lot of people have typically viewed stuff like this as bad because they're saying, I got invested in 3 years or something, and then you just take it away and tell me it never happened. But I feel that it was fitting. And I like this aspect of the movie, of the series, sorry. What about, so there are no paradoxes. It just no longer happened now. The past 3 years, totally wiped clean. Never happened. Farouk's never going to be involved in his head. But there are other issues because they have planted to see that through David's mother, mental illness may run in his family, and he may be mentally ill. And that was something that in the comic books, you know that the character of Legion has multiple personalities or identity disorder because when they first came out about it, we learned a lot about how psychology works, and multiple personalities really isn't a thing, so we've changed that. And so it's kind of hard when you have a comic book character that was based off of that idea. But we worked with, so it's changed a little bit. But so here we have now a character in the comic book who was established as having a mental illness, and in the series, I've always wanted to see that they were going to pull the trigger and say that at first they made it seem like he wasn't mentally ill, it was just Farouk occupying his mind. But then they started hinting that he actually is mentally ill. And just because you had someone in your mind doesn't mean you weren't mentally ill as well. And they very much established that. They make it fairly clear that he does have different identities in his head. They don't 100% pull that trigger on there, and I don't think they need to, but it is implied very, very heavily. They never outright say it, but I think it's there. What? Ron Simmons, damn. Body Squat's mental health. Dave, you check out Teen Titans Season 2 trailer? I have not. So when we look at that aspect of the series, whether or not he's mentally ill, that was a major part of the comic books, but it was just a backdrop. It's there, but it's not as important, which is something I like about the show. So going forward with this, what I wanted to bring up about the possibility of David's mental illness is that we don't know now that he's time traveled. Is his power? How is his powers going to manifest? Are they going to be mental powers going to be the same without Farouk occupying his head? And is his mental illness still going to manifest? Was that there? Did Farouk cause it in the first place, or did he just inherit it from his mother? Is he going to have that personality disorder, identity disorder, no matter what? And how is that going to affect his powers? What are things going forward with that? Would you cast as New Wolverine? Have an episode on this channel. Check it out. Still not as bad as how BCC handled Doctor Who 6th season. Well, I know a lot of people have that. So yeah, how do you guys feel about them taking away the TV show, ending it so that they start all anew, and what happens? Yeah, what are your thoughts? For those of you who are checking out the show, what is it rated, Dave? What is what rated? The show? I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? Because the other thing I want to talk about, the other thing I want to lead into with this is, with the time travel or racing and everything, there is another question I have. Because I want to know, what if, since everything in the show Legion never happened, what if Legion is actually in the X-Men movie universe? Because they never established whether they are their separate entities or not. And at this point in time, it really doesn't matter because it got erased. So for all we know, all the characters and all the events still occur in the original X-Men timeline. In the original X-Men series, or maybe, hey, possibly, who knows, maybe even the MCU series that's not even a thing yet. Would you like to see turn into a TV show? So the early travels of Batman, of Bruce Wayne, the travels and trials and training of a young Bruce Wayne. I've always wanted to see that show. So yeah, I really think there's a shot now. I don't know if I'm thinking too off the wall for you guys, but I think there's a shot that we could find out that that's actually always been tied into the main X-Men continuity. And I was also waiting to find out that all this time travel is causing the show to have that weird timeless feel where it seems like it's in the wrong decade. Dave, did you hear the rumored plan for Spider-Man 3, his lawyer is to be Matt Murdock? I heard that, but I also heard that the real rumor is that it's going to be She-Hulk instead, because with the Hulk properties being tied up legally, She-Hulk is going more likely to be introduced into another movie like the Hulk was. Now you can't do a Hulk solo movie anymore, but you can put Hulk into other series as a supporting character in other movies. That there's a good chance that it might be She-Hulk instead, Marvel's other most famous lawyer, and that the rumor is because of the ending of Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm not going to say what it is, but if you saw that, he might have to seek some legal action, and as a result, a lot of people are saying it's going to be Matt Murdock, which I wouldn't mind, which would be fine. But there's also a chance, because there's a rumor going around, that it's actually going to be She-Hulk instead, because allegedly the Matt Murdock as a character is off limits for a little bit because of Netflix deal. They had to give it a little bit of breathing room. Okay, so Scarlet Witch like an Omega level mutant? She should be. Yeah, it's a poorly defined thing. What's She-Hulk? Yep, that's the rumor. All right, so now that we talked about the X-Men time frame, there are a couple of things I want to talk about as well, because there's a few things that don't line up. In Season 2, we saw that Sid lost her arm, and she went back in time to warn everybody about the events about ending the world. And in a way, David did end their world and succeeded because he was going to be the bringer to end the world, and he actually did that in a way. And I'll get to that as my last point. However, Sid never lost her arm. Now, why is that? What event caused her to lose her arm? How did this happen? Where did this go? And how come they never addressed it in the season 3 finale? I think it's an interesting thing, and they're trying to say there is another time frame. Dick Grayson would be my favorite Robin. But I do like him more as Nightwing, so if you want me to just pick, like, who would I make Robin right now, it would be Tim Drake. So there is the argument about maybe there are multiple timelines, or maybe that past still happens in a different way. Who knows? But my final point that I want to bring up about the Legion series is, in case, not to get too dark on this, but I don't see any other way, is if you saw the beginning of the series, it starts with, you see him as a child, but it leads up to him committing suicide, or attempting to commit suicide, which gets him put into the mental health facility that starts off the show. So you see the build-up from him as a baby to a boy to a man who is driven crazy because of his scenario and attempts suicide, and that's how the show starts. So the show starts with attempted suicide. However, through his actions of time travel, he actually undoes it, and as they said, the versions of themselves that you know in the show are gone because of how they changed time. They successfully changed time, so a brand new thing. So they are essentially gone. So the poetic license that I see with the show, and also one of the reasons why I'm okay with them unraveling everything from the past 3 years, and I'm okay with them ending the show this way, kind of like how I feel it needs to end, is because the show started with him attempting to kill himself, and it ended with him succeeding. So what are your thoughts on that show? Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it very much. We will be doing the wrestling live stream very shortly, so fairly shortly, should I say. So we will be going on momentarily, me and Stephen James from Capital Wrestling. So leave your thoughts about it. If you didn't get a chance to have your thoughts, if you're watching this later, please leave your comments on what you think about the show Legion. And tell me what are your feelings about these specific issues that I brought up. How do you feel about the suicide ending or beginning? Do you think there's any cohesion to that? Do you think there's a chance that the Legion show is part of the mainstream X-Men movie universe, or is it part of a future MCU universe? How do you feel about the timelessness? Do you think the time travel element affected the feel of the show and why it feels so disconjointed because of the time unraveling? And do you also think that Legion is a great way to incorporate much of the more comic booky aspects of the X-Men series